Welcome to the DRW&S, the Duluth, Red Wing, and Southern Railway. And we're modeling it in N Scale. And it's a part of Red Wing, Minnesota's clay factories, which made pottery, which you've seen in my opening, the actual Red Wing pot. So let's get going. All right, so here we go. Got some work done on the clay train. Let me get you over to the clay train, which is right behind me, and we'll move you around a couple times. I'm still working on some tracks, and I'll show you how I got set up with that. And here's the lid of this, and we'll move. Let me hold you here a minute to move you over. Hang on. All right, so here we are. We got these glued down. These tracks right here glued down. I had it pinned for a little bit. Now on this track, and I'll show you on the little thing, I'm thinking about, in the thing it kind of bends like that and then goes back. And I always, when I had my other layout, because I actually ran this layout before, I always would have derailments and trouble on that goofy curve. So I'm thinking of taking the liberty, since I got this flex traction, which is real straight and no joints, and just running it straight off of here. This one goes back around and loops back to here. See, as you see the two, so it'll go this way, loop around and go back here. And then I've got 3 more switches for the yards, and then the Red Wing clay train will be in there. These pieces here aren't glued down yet, but I've been lining them up to glue them down. So I think I'm gonna get those glued down. And as you can see, I'm getting less switches here. There's another switch over here, and then there's two more switches on the top part. So let me move you over. And this glue, by the way, came out really well. It's, as you can see, it's solid. All of this is soldered and ready to roll. And these two here are going to be a trestle bridge, so that'll probably be the last thing connected, because I have to build the trestles. This one here, I'm going to start connecting and laying a track. Let me show you what I'm going to put underneath these switches. Hang on just a minute. Okay, here I am. So I got this foam here, which is actually wider. You can see it's like wide pieces of foam, and so they'll go under the switch. Let me grab a switch. Here. So these pieces, I'll actually, even before I solder these, I'm going to mark them, and I'll cut. Can you see that? I'll cut these out, so I'll probably be able to get 2 of them to lay underneath here, because I'm going to need 4 of them. I'm going to need 1 for that one, and I'll probably cut all of these, because eventually I'll need them. So that way I actually have the foam underneath the switch already, one piece. So we'll be working on that, the foam. I bought a bunch of more connectors too, not realizing that if you look in here, I get more of those connectors, but really 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think they only give you enough for things you'd have to build in here. So that's what's on the docket. Let me also take you over to the workbench, and I'll show you what I have to do next in the line here, because I'm going to start once I get that glued down, you know, these 3 pieces glued down, then I'm going to start gluing. And this piece here, I got to cut another piece of this stuff to go in between there. But I didn't want to cut it until I had everything glued down. Once I get that glued down, then this track here, and I got to figure out what I'm going to do with the cutout here. I'll probably have to adjust it up here. But we'll do that once I get it laid out. I don't really have to do that until actually I start getting the top on. So so that way I can even start gluing the foam to these pieces and putting it all together. So let me get you over to my other bench and I'll show you a few things there. All right, so here you are at the other bench. I got a little piece of wood. My new little toy I got was, I gotta make sure you can see this. Can you see that? No, you can't see that. Let me tip you up just a little bit more. There we go. My other toy was this thing. I got it. I've been watching a guy who does model railroad, and he keeps having tips on good things to buy for building your model railroad from Harbor Freight. And this was only $10 at Harbor Freight. But I love the magnifying glass for looking at the little tracks. It also has a light on it, so it works really nice that way. And it'll hold stuff. So if I'm working on this longer track, I can actually, even if I don't clip it, I can actually hold it up. And now I can see it really good to do those joints. So that'll come in handy. The other thing I got, which he said was good, was here, I got them right over here. And I never had thought of this. As you can see, there's my Harbor Freight bag. But it made a lot of sense. Was I bought these magnets are for welding, but they're little. And there's 4 of them in a pack, so I got 8 of them. But what you can do when you're building your styrene walls, obviously this isn't metal, but I've got a stainless steel one that I can put on my other bench, and use the magnets to actually help hold up when you're gluing buildings together. So when you glue a building together, you have to put them like this, and these magnets will hold it on that metal sheet while you're welding with the plastic glue. So yeah, so those are 2, and these weren't bad either. What did I pay for these? These were only, I can't see, there we go. Okay, Helping Hands was $10. The magnets for just one was $3.94, so that was a pretty good deal. So that's why I got 2 packs of them. So there you have it, a little tip on doing this better. I already had one of these for soldering. This is an older one I had, and I was using it, it was working. But now, you know, the more hands you have, the more hands you have to hold things, the better, because I can put that out here, especially if I'm doing a curve. So that'll make it a lot easier. And then my soldering iron is actually over here, which I can keep it closer. But this one here, while I'm adjusting, I can even park it here, which is really nice. So that was a good thing. So what I've got to do is I've got to solder, and I got to put the little joiners. I got to solder these 3 together like this, and like you can see, I've got my joiners there, because this is going to be the split off to the curve, and it'll come back to here on the layout. And let me show you what we're looking at. Whoops. So if you look at here, I'm looking at these 3, and this is the piece I was talking about over there. I'm just going to run it straight, and then it'll start curving. It curves back around and comes back in, actually, not to this one, but the one I already have on the layout. And then these will split off all my industry. This one, and then my clay pit's going to be over here. That's what that other one was for down here, for splitting off down there. But what I might do is this one here curves. I might curve. I don't know if I'll make it that long. And then I've got a yard for the other ones. So this will be the factory here, the Red Wing Pottery Factory, and maybe kind of a pseudo yard where they got the sewer pipes in here. This one here is just going to go, I'm going to take a straight one here to about there, and then the river will be here, and that'll be downtown Red Wing. Like I said, with the barn bluff will be here. This track will probably go through the barn bluff. So those are all the things we're working on, and it's keeping me busy. I actually got, to give you an update on my other projects, and I'm going to go do it right now, I actually got the lights hooked up in my car for my trailer. So I've got to hook up my trailer and take that over to AAA to get the trailer plates for my trailer. So I'm kind of just giving you an overview of this, but I will have more of this done when you come back next week. So I hope you enjoy that update and what's happening, and enjoy some of the equipment that I'm using, that you can take note of that. And so let me turn you around so you can see me, and we'll say goodbye. All right, so there we have it, the Red Wing Clay Train coming together. I hope you enjoyed that. It's kind of some planning, some hands-on. As you can see, we got stuff done. It's going to start going quick now once I get those other pieces glued down and start gluing cork down there and hooking up the whole ring down on that first level, and then we'll move to the upper level. So I hope you appreciated that. Remember, this will show at 12 noon. I think I said it wrong on my other video. The cigar box guitar one is going to show at 11 o'clock, so you got some time in between in case you wanted to get lunch before and eat your lunch during this one, which shows at noon. So I hope you're watching both of them. I do have my shorts every week. I hope you're watching those. Check them out. I go over my vinyl record collection. I got a big collection. I'm only going I did the blues section, and now I'm in the jazz section, but I've got enough where I can keep it going. If I start getting into my regular rock and roll collection, that's the biggest chunk of it. I could be doing it for a while, but it's something else I enjoy. And all the records that I bought I tried to get them all for less than $1, and I've gotten some really good ones. That's why I called it Finding Gold in Vinyl, because I've more than, on a dozen of them, I've more than tripled my money a lot of times of buying them, because when I buy them, I always have that criteria of they got to be able to play, they got to be able to play and sound good, and some wear on the jackets, but not like that the record won't be held in the jacket. The other thing is, I have bought records from Discog. I bought a chess record without a sleeve, and actually it probably wouldn't run because they actually had filled in a chunk, but it was an old 78 from Chess, which was in Chicago with the blues, and it's actually Muddy Waters. So, but that particular record, I don't try to play it, because you can look it up and play the music, even the record itself, off the line. So I've got that one in a frame in my studio over my desk. And I think I even showed it, but when I was going over my blues records. So I hope that does it for you today. We'll see you next Saturday, same time, same bat stations. Be sure to comment. I've gotten some comments and like your comments, and I'm trying to be more diligent to replying to those sooner. So we'll see you next week.